name is Timmy Joe. I make videos about these things, computers, on the internet, and I'd like to talk to you today about the FSP CMT520. Okay, we've reviewed the 510 before, and actually I had a full water cooling build in it before, haha, but here it is. It's a nice case, fully tempered glass, both sides, front, a little bit of things and stuff, but this is a new one that's come out since, and this actually marks about a year that I've been working with FSP. They've got really nice stuff. There's a reason why I keep going back and asking them for cases, and there's a reason why they keep sending to me. I do good, and you know what? They're not that well known, and I'd like to kind of spread the love for them. They do really nice cases, I gotta say. But their bread and butter is power supplies, for sure. They're an OEM. They do server stuff for power supplies. We'll talk a little bit about that later on in the video, but we're here to talk about the case, because I think there is a case to be made that these should be on your radar, okay? So this is the 520. It's got tempered glass in the front, a little bit of panel right there, a little bit of panel on the side. Sometimes, these front tempered glass panels, they really impede airflow. Gotta say, this one is a little bit better than most because it has two gaps, one little bit of ventilation here, one beside the tempered glass panel. There's one on the bottom as well, which, and actually the fans are inset. They're in here. They're in the case, basically. So, there's a lot of room in the case. They can do that. So it's not like those are being smothered. There's a lot of airflow coming through. I can feel it from the 4 fans that are included, 4 RGB fans. Now, that's a blessing and a curse, okay? Because the fans, they're not great. They're included. They change colors. They blow air. But they have some pitfalls. Other pitfalls included as well would be that this front panel here is the same as every other frickin' tempered glass panel out there. It just screws on and then it falls off, boom, and then you get fingerprints all over it, and it's kind of hard to put back on. Their other case was much better for that. It had feet on the bottom that held the glass. I wish they would have kept that implementation. But there are some really good things that other case doesn't have that this one does have. So, bad fans, kind of between the both, but at least they're included, they're there, and if you don't care too much, or you don't plan on overclocking the snot out of everything, or maybe you have your own fans and this will just be an addition, you could put these ones up here, or repurpose them. At least they're included, and they're included at a pretty decent price point, which we will talk about eventually as well. So big open design here, and I'll go ahead and open up the back as well. It's just a metal panel this time on the back of this one, which I like. I think you're not going to look at it most of the time, and then that way you can be kind of dirty with the way you do your cables. Now, I have, ran the cables and managed them a bit back here, but the amount of room, there's about 1.25 inches, 1.5 inches back here. The amount of room allows you to not worry so much about, how you address these cables, because the panel's going to fit on. You're not going to have to force it in to get it going, because there's a lot of room back there. Now, the way the fans plug in is there is a connector included that allows you to just plug in a Molex, and then it offshoots to the fans and provides power, and then you can actually run an RGB addressable to your motherboard and plug it in, and that's what I have going here. That's why the motherboard colors are changing with the fans. But again, with the cheapness of the fans, if I'm being totally honest, I'll switch it to static mode. This is white, and as you can tell, those fans are blue, but the white lights on my motherboard. Now, this is a problem with RGB, not just with the fans on here, but there are some color difference issues sometimes, and this would be one of them. Now, if you don't have RGB on your motherboard, there's an included little splitter here that lets you just press a button and cycle through a bunch of color modes and stuff like that. So there's a couple different options, a lot of versatility with this case. So again, versatility, lots of room to route your cables. There's lots of holes because the back panel's black. You don't have to worry about grommets and stuff. What I like is that there is a lot of room to put your 8 pins and stuff up here. A lot of times this gets neglected, or there's not a lot of holes to route your USBs and stuff like that. There is a lot of room here, and then you have 2 3.5 inch drive bays down here with caddies, and they're hidden down here. There's not much room other than that for big hard drives, but most people these days are running, one or two big hard drives, and then they have SSDs that are 2.5 or maybe even M.2s on the motherboard. I have a lot of storage in this build. There's 8 terabytes. 9 terabytes if you count this SSD right here, and then there's another half terabyte on the motherboard with an M.2 slot. So I have a very high-end system, 2700X in here with it all being supported. And when I'm going to put a little water loop in here, I have no fear to put a nice big rad up here or here. You could even do this. Check this out. Pull this out. You could cut this down and fit an even fatter rad about up to here. With this this panel being removed, you could cut it down a little bit if you needed to. Now, I really like this panel. It's a cool idea. It gives you clear access to your power supply. You could add more to your power supply, your modular power supply, without pulling it out. And even if you do, it has an included power supply bracket too. So you could pull the bracket out and pull the power supply out this way. You don't have to kind of weasel it in this way and it just like gets stuck. So there's lots of different options for the power supply. But one noteworthy thing here is that this is acrylic and it is already getting scratched up. And because it's acrylic, it gets all statically charged and actually dust sticks to it a little bit easier. And then when you go to wipe it off with your microfiber, the dust kind of makes little tiny scratches on it. Now, if this was glass, I would love that. I know it would add to the expense of the case, but if this was glass and it was really dark tinted, I think that would be even better. But when it is in there, and there's magnets that hold it on, so there's no tooling or anything required for that, you just kind of plop it in there and poof, there you go. It's held in by a magnet, and then it provides this reflection of your parts. So you can see your graphics card. I know I have the Accelero mod on this, but you can see the lights and stuff from your motherboard reflecting off of this. It's not just getting dampened by like matte black, which I think actually looks really nice and looks pretty cool. So yeah, and then you can add big rads, a little bit of water cooling support. This kind of limits you to, if you wanted to bolt a rad to this, you're going to screw this panel up, or if you want to bolt a reservoir or a pump to this, you're going to have to drill through it and screw it up. But there is room on here to mount all the water cooling stuff here. You could probably figure it out in this case. It's because it's a big, full tower case. No issues there. I don't know if you call this a mid tower. It's between kind of a mid tower and a full tower. But there's a lot of room in it, and it's great. There's also room in the top to put 140s or 120s. I think you could do 2 140s or 3 120s. And there's slots you could have them either mounted here or here. Pretty cool. And then, of course, there's the exhaust vent. And then there's this little hole here that displays your power supply. I don't know if I like that. I like it because I have one of their nice power supplies, and they actually include little stickers that you can stick on there to match the color of your build. It actually originally comes with a blue one, so you've got blue, red, or green, depending on which one you want to stick on there, so that's pretty cool. But that about sums it up for this case. It's really nicely implemented. It's really not flimsy at all. It feels really solid. The front panel just pops off real easy like that and gives you access to put, you could do a push-pull. You could mount fans in there if you want, but the amount of air in there would kind of get blocked off, so I wouldn't necessarily recommend it. It's got USB 3.0 on the front, 2 of them, and then a button for changing your RGB if you're using the controller, as well as 2 USB 2.0s and your audio jacks. But let's go ahead and check out what's going on, for how much this thing costs, because if it's really expensive, that ain't going to be no good. Their website, you can check it out. There's the specifications on what fits in here. You can do EATX even. They have a really good website that shows, everything about this case top to bottom. If you do have any questions, I'll link that below. And then for the power supply I'm using for my build, it's the Hydro PTM 750. They did send me that as well. They've sent me a few power supplies over the years, but this is a really high-end power supply you'd use for this is the X470. You could even go with Threadripper with this thing, I'm sure, as long as your graphics card wasn't too powerful. It has 2 8-pin connectors on the motherboard. I'm using it right now. It's an overkill power supply for my system, so it could go even further. So I wouldn't worry about buying this one unless you have some seriously high-end components like a Threadripper and a Vega. 750 is probably going to be your starting point for that. But, if you want to get into the prices of the things, well, the case, $109.99. A little bit expensive, but not bad at all considering all the functions, the features that it comes with. I think at this price point, you get a lot smaller of the case from a Corsair or an NZXT. You'd get one included red fan RGB wouldn't be included. And then if you want to go with, a thermal take or something like that and add the ring fans, it's going to add another $40, $50, $60 to the price of this. So I know these fans aren't the greatest, but at least they're there. They're included. They're plug and play, ready to go. And at $109.99, that's not bad at all. So I'll see you guys in another video. I'm at Watching Me Joe, Instagram and Twitter. Just wanted to, they send me this stuff. Yeah, of course. But I wouldn't keep pimping it unless I really liked it and actually believed in their product. So, I take that for what it's worth, but that's honestly how I feel, and, I wouldn't shit you. You're my favorite turd. So, I'll see you guys later. Thanks very much for watching. Watching Me Joe, Instagram and Twitter. There's a Patreon and all that good stuff below. But I'm going to put this back together, put it on my mantle, leave it as my editing rig, and then we'll get into some other shenanigans later on this week, including, hopefully, an Xbox build, maybe a micro ATX build, some dual GPU components, some other stuff, RGB power supplies maybe, I don't know. We'll see. See you guys later. Thanks very much for watching.
This is a Chuki Beat production.